I don't even think they're old man pants.
Thank you.
They are a little long, though. But I like my pants a certain cut.
Untamed and uncut.
I have to give my pants a circumcision every time.
Oh, no.
All right, Kieran, we're finally. I loved when these work out and we can do an in-person episode.
Me too, man.
I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't do one last month with Steve, but all right, let's crack this. Not sponsored.
Non-spawn. You know what you're doing. You put that up right up to the mic. I was more focused on the beer.
Hey, as long. Ooh, that is good.
That is really good. Oh, Boss Tweed. Double IPA.
Yeah, and it's that. It's a double New England, which I realized a while ago. I don't really like regular IPAs. I mean, like I'll drink an IPA every now and then, but like,
You know what makes it a New England IPA?
it's unfiltered. It's something about the filtration. Do you?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I should.
I thought you were just about to learn
Yeah.
something.
Let me just drop some knowledge in the chat. Unfiltered, just like the mouths of the New Englanders.
Exactly. Maybe. But yeah, I actually don't know what the difference. I know New England and hazy are like somewhat similar. Like they're not 100% synonymous, but
Okay.
they're like similar styles.
Gotcha.
So yeah, in a different life, I feel like I could have gone into beer.
Mm-hmm.
Which might be a good segue for last week's question.
True.
Have you thought about what a variant Kieran would be like?
I've been thinking about it a little bit. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Because I figured I'd give you some time to think. So first, going back all the way to the Marvels, when this is my variant story. So I walked in, and the theater was like it had 6 people, and so I walked in. It was whatever. Walked out once we finished, and there was a guy, the only guy who was sitting in my row. Another guy about my age, solo. So I was like, all right, we're already on the same wavelength.
Right.
But I go to the bathroom. This guy goes to the bathroom, and he's right in front of me. So this is like right when the movie ends. This is credit scene.
Oh, that was brave of you to leave before the
I
credit scene.
had to go so
Oh my
bad, but I
God.
was like, I know I can make it.
Yeah.
So I go in. So there's a guy. The guy who was sitting next to me was in front of me, and then there was a guy behind me, and he walked out from the same theater.
Mm-hmm.
I looked, and all 3 of us had Allbirds shoes on, and we were all about like mid-20s.
Yeah.
And all 3 of us had a crossbody bag and like some kind of windbreaker hoodie sweatshirt. And I was like, we're all on the same shit right now.
Right.
I was like, so it felt so weird to see like these 2 guys who were like, it really felt like, and I feel like because I had just finished Loki, that I was like, this feels very variant-esque. But I think about the other variants. I think of it. So I'm reading this book that Renee. Have you read The Midnight Library?
I have.
You
Matt
have.
Haig.
Okay.
Shout out Matt Haig.
So I'm reading it right now, and I don't know that Renee explained it very well, but like what I understood is that like all of the books you see like a different decision of your life.
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot, especially like with me freelancing for so long and like not really knowing what I wanted to do. I feel like I like would always put myself in like, could I see myself here? And so I think like obviously like the biggest variant of me would be like the production. Like I just stayed in production and like I was just an audio tech or like went and did maybe picked up cameras. And then I think about my time at the restaurant because like did I ever tell you that when I worked in the restaurant for like
I was never in Chicago during that time. I know it was a pizza place, right?
I made pizza at the place for it's probably like 2 months. And it was really cool. And the restaurant life reminded me of set life. But in the same sense that like I knew I had to get out when I did because the only way to be like successful in that is to like fully dive in. Like spending all day in the restaurant, like picking up like those skills and all of that. And everybody was super nice and everybody was like willing to like, if you have any questions, like let me know. So I thought about that a lot. I was like, I could see myself, like what would me fully committing to this path look like?
Yeah. I guess that's different than the way I was interpreting it. I think yours is much more accurate because I think I was thinking like alternate versions of myself when really it's me having made a different decision.
Yeah. I guess that's more so what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's interesting. So those are two good like little branch points kind of.
Two branching timelines.
Maybe it happened, they got pruned.
Something like, and I wonder like what those decisions, because I don't know. I feel like I have noticed those points in my life a lot more. Those big decisions, those life altering decisions to me feel very apparent in the moment. Like moving to Ithaca pre-pandemic. Yeah. Like I remember sitting in my room at my parents' house and being like, if I go, this is like an entirely different life.
Huge
and
range.
If I stay, this is an entirely different life. And it was like,
you might still be living in Michigan if you didn't go to Ithaca.
Right. And I think about that. Yeah. And in those moments are always feel very, I don't know, they don't ever feel scary to me, which I don't know. So do you have any of those moments?
Definitely.
What's the biggest one that pops out to you?
The biggest one is the med school decision of which city to be in. I chose to be in Detroit. Could have been in Chicago or New York or Providence, I guess. And that decision had impact in a couple ways. I mean, being at Wayne State was a different experience than I would have had in those other cities, and being in Detroit, staying here, being close to my folks. The bigger decision-making point, though, being that Sarah and my relationship was only like 4 or 5 months old at the point of me making that decision formally.
Yeah.
And I don't think I guess it's possible that we would have stayed together, but the relationship would have been different. And I think it's very plausible that we wouldn't have made it work if I was in a different city for 4 years. I'd still be in a different city. So that's a huge branch point. I mean, I'm very happy with the way it's worked out, but
have you ever so something I've wondered with like people like you and Renee, honestly, like you and Renee are like my two biggest like points of reference for people who, because I feel like you guys have always kind of path-wise known what you wanted to do, whether it was the specifics of the path. Like you always knew you kind of wanted to be a doctor, but like I remember it being like neurology, and then like now you're I don't know if we should put it on the pod, but like committed to peds.
Yeah, I mean committed in the sense that I'm applying for jobs, and assuming I get one, that's the path I'm on. But yeah, we can let the pod know. But like, a little exclusive.
That's so, to me, that is so cool. And I have never had that like path of like, oh, I want to do this thing, and like deciding I want to say minutia, but I know that's not the right word. Like
fine details of it.
Yeah, the fine details of like the path. Have you ever like, I guess this is like a question for like younger Kieran. Sure. Like if you thought there was ever a different path.
Yeah. I definitely think there was other plans for a long time. I think before I actually even knew what engineer was. I think I was, for a while, I was like, oh, like engineering sounds cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people around here are being engineers, and it seems like I've heard you make good money and you can have a good life. And I'm sure I would have had an enjoyable life. Some of my good friends are engineers of different types. Audio engineer, former. And that was a possibility. I guess I didn't really ever explore deeply any other careers. I've done other jobs, but nothing that I would have considered something that I'd be doing forever. But
So there's no variant Kieran who stayed at Trentwood.
Honestly, there probably is.
I
I loved that job. That was good work. It was kind of nasty, especially the chicken in like bags with like guts and stuff. Or not guts, but like chicken juice. So gross.
Nasty.
But I really liked like grinding the meat and putting it out for sale. I got really good at measuring like what a pound. I could tell you like to like 0.01 pounds of what a pound was. That was so fun.
That was so like I think about that like with my time at Vreeland and like cutting the dough, and like when I made dough this past time, I like didn't have a digital scale, but I like grabbed it and I was like, I wonder if I still know like how much this is. And like I didn't have a scale, so like I couldn't weigh it, but I was like, I love that, just like, so I feel that like knowing that the poundage.
But I think overall, when I'm thinking of like your variant timelines of different careers, I do feel like I have like variant timelines. Like even within my time in med school, like I was thinking neurology for a while. I had like 3 months where I was like, I'm gonna be an OBGYN. Like delivering babies is the coolest thing I've ever done, and that's all. That's exactly what I want to do. And then I did peds after that, and I was like, oh, actually, no, I'm back on the peds train. So I just think that and similar with Renee, are like on ramps to the career take so many, like there's so much time required that like not that I can't turn back, and I do feel at this point I could still turn back and change my mind. I don't plan on it, but it just feels like I kind of had to plan.
There's such a lead up to it.
Yeah, and so I do. Yeah, it feels like I've already made this decision long ago. But realistically, like let's say I knew junior year of high school, like okay, like I'm thinking med school, like that requires me to like probably apply for a college that I can do a science degree at. Yeah, and then I'm doing the science degree. I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like at this point, though, realistically, I could do like research. I could do business stuff. I could do anything realistically, most stuff. But I could engineering. Then I do med school, and like med school's okay. And now I'm like gonna be a doctor, hopefully. I think there still feels like a lot of pathways, and though I'm making some decisions, I still don't feel like I've totally chosen what I want to do. Like
I think that's where I get to now, because this also like just feels so weird because like we have been making these decisions together, like alongside each other for so long.
Definitely.
So it feels so like this feels like a very grown conversation, but like I mean it is. But like it, I think me, back in the day I was so, it felt like there was only like a couple decisions. Mm-hmm. It felt like, like if I didn't have a path, I felt like I was lost. But like, I think having tasted so many different things, I'm like, no, like even me trying so many different things is like a fraction of the things that you could like is a fraction of the decisions that anybody could do at any time. And it like that, it still feels like there's so many like possibilities and so many different paths.
It makes me think, I've been doing a lot of icebreakers at the interviews I'm doing. They're always asking random icebreakers. And I don't think this is one they ever asked, but if I just in the realm of icebreakers, it's like if you could pick a career that was like different from the one you're doing right now, like what would it be? And I guess I'm going to ask you in like a different sort of a caveat. Like, is there anything that you thought growing up, like, oh, I want to do this, and like maybe there's a specific reason you don't actually want to do it, but like, is there like a career path that's like kind of in left field for you that you would have thought like maybe in another life or in an early branching timeline you would maybe have selected?
I mean, like, it was never something that I like put full thought into, but like a lot of people have said like, oh, you're gonna run the store, right? Like from before I even worked at Vreeland to the point I was like working there full time, and like by the time I was like taking orders and everything, like I was working with, like, I remember my uncle like sort of training me to be like, hey, like, we're gonna give you keys to the store and you're gonna close everything up. And I just like the pressure of that feels like too much.
Okay.
So I think I like realized that at like sort of a younger age, that I was like, I don't think I could handle running a business, because like Vreeland is like a successful business, but it like still is a small business.
Yeah.
And like a small business like that, like you're directly responsible for so many people's lives.
True.
Like even if it's just selling groceries or beer, like the people who work there, like that is their livelihood. And
Absolutely.
that like that kind of stress is like,
yeah,
that's kind of
interesting. Real. That's real.
Like kind of crazy to me. And I think that's like, I don't know. I realize now, and I mean, I realized then, like, I could do it and I could do a good job, but I don't think, I used to think that responsibility was a lot cooler than it actually is.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I used to think like, oh, you know, like running the store, this place is mine. Like this place, I'm responsible for this. But like after a point, like I'm responsible for this. And like if something goes bad, like it's your ass. And
and other people are affected by those decisions. Absolutely.
And I think that's where I've like sort of shifted my like perspective, where I like don't want to be responsible for other people's livelihood or lives. That's why I really enjoyed like the aspect of like freelancing. It's just my ass that's on the line. And what would you pick?
I have a couple of thoughts. I think this is sort of what the pathways that I was thinking when I was thinking of being a variant. I think that for a long time, well, I love soccer, and I got a chance to coach soccer for a year before I started school, and I love doing that. And I think there's a realistic variant of me that went full in on that and like is coaching at like a college or maybe eventually like a somewhat like a professional level. Yeah.
An MLS team.
Maybe. I mean, I think if I like got in early and like really invested in it and like worked my way up in the ranks, who knows? I mean, people do it all the time, and I think that's a career path that I could get fulfillment from. I do think that I love soccer. I don't know that I would love soccer that much after that many years. That's all. Like, if I like watching games, traveling to games, spending time on the road, and doing all that, I don't know that that's something I'd actually want to do. But I do think that's a variant possibility. And the other possibility is I always thought about a career in like conservation biology, like on my Jane Goodall type beat kind of thing. Yeah. And
what animal would you pick? Not that Jane Goodall just picked.
Yeah. She said, I'm going for the primates only. I would. That's a hard question. I think that both of them like have a very healthy fear of the deep blue sea.
I'm so terrified.
Yeah, reasonably so. It's scary as hell.
Well, you're the only person who has like reciprocated that, because like when we were going on the cruise, I was telling everybody, I was like, I'm terrified of being out on the ocean like that. They're like, it's not that big of a deal. I was like, it is that big of a deal, because if that boat, something goes wrong, you're fucked. Like,
there's no one helping you out there.
Yeah, like you're fucked.
The Coast Guard's gonna be a minute. I will say I think maybe my fear isn't that. I feel like I wouldn't be bothered by a cruise, but like just like I watch a lot of YouTube of people doing deep sea exploration stuff and trying to go like people doing like the Drake Passage to Antarctica, like just like crazy waters when you're just your boat's getting like it's like this. I can't remember if it's between New Zealand and Antarctica or Argentina and Antarctica. Like one of those like strips of water to get to Antarctica from like the furthest southern points is notoriously really, really dangerous to get through, like treacherous waters, people like tons of boats like sunk and stuff. And also there's so many sea creatures that are just gonna kill you. So
that like,
if I was like if I was doing a job where I was intentionally looking for those things, I think I would be really excited by it. Like I love planet Earth. I love doing that stuff. I both think that I don't know that I actually would like it, and I do think that though I'm sure you can live a really fulfilling life doing that, I think I would feel isolated socially. Like you're in some really remote parts of the world. My family wouldn't like. I wouldn't see my family very often.
That's like I think about like. I mean, production is like the closest thing I like experienced to that. Like, like I mean, the whole year of 2020 when we moved to Chicago, I was on the road like every fucking week,
right?
And like, I think that was my first taste of like that isolation. And I was like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
Like, this sucks. And like, it's not bad. Like, there's good parts of it, but I think you have to be built for that, or like accept that is like going to be your reality. And I was like, so looking forward to, I was like, okay, I got one more day and then I'm home and then I can sleep in my bed. I can see Renee, I can see my cats. Like, I want to be in my space. And I just like realized that was like,
we're just big wife guys. I think that's our problem.
That's us. We're wife guys.
To the stay-at-home dad lifestyle.
But yeah, I think that's trying to think any other. I really think the two like biggest variants of me is like production, that I just stayed on like the TV route and like grinded that out, or like restaurant life. I feel like I really like would, and I mean I like still take parts of those and like
definitely.
I feel like having been in them and seeing like what it takes to like really make it far, like you have to like fully, that has to be your everything.
Yeah.
To like really make it. And like, I don't think it's that serious. I don't think production is that serious. I don't think restaurant life is that serious. But like, I think I've taken some of those things, and even like for this, like this is production. This is the kind of production I like to do.
For sure.
And like my pizzas, like that is like how I care about those. That
makes
much.
A lot of sense. That's very clear to me. You invest a lot of time and energy into both of those things, but if that's not what you're gonna get, like if you think about a career of decades long, if that's not what you're gonna get fulfillment out of, then it makes sense to just take the parts you're actually gonna enjoy.
Yeah, and I like never got that fulfillment. Like on all of my jobs that I did in production, I was like people would ask me like, oh, what are you working on? I'm like, I'm working on something. I'm working on like a show. It like it never felt super meaningful to be like, I worked on this show, I did this. Okay. Like it wasn't that fulfilling to me, because like at the end of the day I was like, I'm getting a nice check. Hell yeah. Like the coolest thing that I did was like the George Floyd
in Minneapolis.
And that was like, that just felt like substantial. That felt like I was a part of history, and that was really cool.
You were there for when the court case.
I was there
when
when they announced that Derek Chavanagh was guilty.
Yeah,
and that was like, bro, I was nervous.
I bet.
Like,
a ton of people are out there, right?
Well, you could feel like in Minneapolis that like if they would have said he was not guilty, like they would have burned that city to the ground. And like it felt, you could feel how tense it was.
Palpable, yeah. I mean, I can only the tension. I'm sure.
But even that stuff, I'm like, that was like the coolest thing I did. But at the end of the day, I was like, I just want my check and I want to go home. Like,
yeah. I think it's okay to acknowledge both of those things. Like, you're doing a job, and there are some things that are so powerful that you'll remember forever. But like, I don't know, some of your shows, I think some other your like less serious content, like some of like the travel or ghost stuff that you were doing, like, not that it's not cool, but it just wasn't. It's not. Yeah, it
wasn't fulfilling, and that's the way I think that's the way I look at it. It's like, is this fulfilling in the sense that like I want to be doing this every day,
right?
Or like, I don't know, like this this moment right here, I have like taken so much from like all of the sets I've been on to like make this what it is. And like this show and even like doing it over FaceTime or like over Zoom was like infinitely more fulfilling to me.
Hell yeah, dude.
Than doing this boss tweet is fucking me up.
Tammany Hall.
Shout out Boss Tweed.
I don't know if I'm gonna endorse that. I don't know enough about the history.
I don't remember what his first name was.
It was something.
Gunther.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was something. Eugene.
200 years ago, I think it was 1823 was the big timeline. So. Yeah. Wow. Well, that was nice. Any Marvel updates on your end?
Just that we were just talking about The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Did you see that they casted Pedro Pascal for Mr. Fantastic?
No, I didn't know they did that at all.
I have really been trying to stay away from all of the updates, but I was just telling Renee this. It's crazy that he got Game of Thrones. Was amazing. Mm-hmm. The Mandalorian. Haven't watched it. Only heard amazing things.
I watched the first couple seasons. It was really good.
The Last of Us. Insanely amazing. And he's going to play Mr. Fantastic? Like, Pedro Pascal is...
Wow. So do you think that the Fantastic Four are going to show up in the X-Men universe, or do you have any hunches, or have you read anything?
I haven't read anything, but I think... they're going to introduce the Fantastic Four with Kang's variant Ramatut.
Interesting. Okay.
Because that's one of the first... I don't know if it's one of the first, but like that's one of their villains.
Oh,
okay. So I think they could tie it in that way because the Fantastic Four are super important to Secret Wars.
Right.
And I don't know. What do you...
Yeah.
How do you feel about them, like, bringing back... Well, like, nothing's confirmed, but, like, bringing back, like, the original cast. Like, Robert Downey Jr. And, like... I think they said, like, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson... Who else?
Would they bring back Captain America as well, or...
Probably.
Yeah. Those are I can't say I grew up watching those characters. I watched. I mean, I've seen some of them since like 2003, 2006, but I wasn't as into it as you for the wholeness of our childhood. I really got into it in the last few years, but I love what they created. I do think it would feel kind of money
grabby
seeking, yeah, because. I think they had an ending and they were written out and like they were given that ending, and like it is kind of the beauty of the Marvel comics is like there's different iterations of these characters, there's different ways that they're brought in, and some of them are more realistic than others, and it is what it is. But I think that we are setting up, there's already so many characters, and I just feel like I think it might feel like admitting failure if you're going to like walk things back and be like, okay, actually, like we are not making enough money, or we're not getting the hits we need, so we're gonna bring back
Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And see, I totally agree, and I feel like you and me, like, we have similar views on like that it's a long game. Yeah, and I feel like people are mad about like each individual release because they're like, oh, how does this tie in? This is stupid. Like the Marvel's blah blah blah, and it's like. The reason that Endgame and Infinity War were so good, yes, each individual movie leading up to them were so good and interconnected, but I feel like those two movies tied such a nice bow on everything, but like they tied a bow on everything. Like they were the end point.
That's why we have phases.
Right, and that's why they were so good, and I'm like, it's gonna be funny to me that when we finally get to Secret War and the Kang Dynasty, that people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, this blew away.
I know. Oh, totally.
Endgame. I can't. This was better than the first phase. Which I'm like,
yeah. I just think, I think I agree. I think I love the. I think when I think about like series that have been important to me, things like Harry Potter and even Star Wars stuff, which is a little bit before my time realistically, and I've sort of followed the new stuff, but not as closely. Like, there's world building and there's like these characters, but I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe does a different job for me, where it is just like, it's so powerful in the character building that it does. That there's so many different pieces, and it is overwhelming. It's hard to jump into realistically. Like at this point, like
it is.
Good luck jumping in.
And to me,
but
that's why I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
exactly.
I like it, and I think it's really funny when people are like, I have absolutely zero basis for this, but I hear it in my brother's voice. Like I hear Tomas being like, "The Marvels is a stupid movie," and I'm like, I don't know why, Tomas. If you're watching this, which I know he's not.
Shout out Tomas.
I like think it's so funny because it's like somebody who's just watching the Marvels is going to be like, what was this?
Yeah, kind of mid, right.
But like somebody who has watched all of the MCU, all of the TV show, like if you watch all of it, if you're like so deep in the universe, like there is something to be taken from every piece. And I think that is like the deep, like how deep the lore and like interconnectivity of the universe is like so cool to me. Cause it's like, to me, it's similar to like Star Wars. Like I am so interested in Star Wars, like from an outside perspective, but I know to jump into Star Wars is like,
yeah, you got like 12 movies and
insane.
Like a couple multiple TV shows now.
Like,
yeah. I think that even in this like continuous progress we have the comics that you're much more familiar with, and you've been I've been excited to get to read a bit of them.
Which I have a little stack for you after this. And
that's actually what leads me what I'm going to say is that we have been like spending already years setting up the Young Avengers that we finally got like a full tease to. X-Men, like we've gotten lead up into this maybe a little more off script or off camera, I should say, from like purchases being made of different character rights and all that. But we have the other movies, the X-Men movies that I've been watching and you've seen a lot of, and we're like coming to this culmination of things, and we're getting these releases at the end, these post-credit scenes, and we're seeing the way that even like the Marvels team is coming together and how this is going to play into the future. And we kind of have the comic books to kind of predict stuff, but we have to wait till see what the crew at Marvel and Disney do. But it just requires patience, and it would feel like away from the narrative they're building if they just bring these other characters in.
And I also really love how like the MCU is just, it's like it's a variant of the comics. Like, because if you watch any, like if you take the Iron Man trilogy, like all of that is like, some of it is lifted from the comics. Like it's not a one for one. And that's why I like having the movies and having the comics and having TV shows. And there's all of this media, video games, like all of this stuff is connected in the sense that like all of these characters are similar, but like there's so many different versions that like the MCU is just like what's the most popular now. But like at a time, the movies were dog shit, and the comics were like, no, only the real fans were reading the comics like religiously. And I because there's ebbs and flows of it, and I think that's so interesting. And like what's going to happen when the MCU does eventually fall off? Like we're already starting to see like a decline, and like once that happens, is the MCU going to go back to what it was, where it was like just sort of a niche thing, but like obviously has millions and millions of dollars behind it to make these incredible, like, because like I saw just like a clip of Iman Vellani. Yeah. And she was saying something like the budget for Secret Wars is like insane.
Really?
And it's like years out.
Right.
So like I'm so excited for Secret Wars, whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're just gonna have to see. And I mean, we already talked about this before. We shouldn't go into it again, but there is that whole like Jonathan Majors situation. Kind of, we have to see what happens. And
yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't want to say anything else about it right now, but that it's kind of hard to figure out what direction everything's going to go in.
That's another thing that I'm really nervous if they like pivot to Doom, because like through reading the comic books, I have come to love like Dr. Doom has become one of my like favorite characters. And like I would be so sad if they fuck him up. If he's just like
they rush him in.
If they rush him in, like I would rather them push him, get the right casting, get somebody who's gonna kill it, and like make him so cool.
Yeah. And I do think that we had build up for Kang. Like we were anticipating him before we saw him, and that was so exciting. I think same thing with Thanos. So we like had multiple movies where he was like on a throne, and where we saw like some of his henchmen, and we like kind of it was build up to it. And yeah, I haven't engaged with it too much, and I haven't really engaged with much Doctor Doom content except for Secret Wars.
But when I finish my 2 Doctor Doom runs, I will give all of them to you, because there's like one of them is like his entire origin story, and it's so cool. Like they're both
nice.
Christopher Cantwell did one of them, and I can't remember the other. But like such a cool character, such a cool character. I don't have a question to end this on.
We have one more pod this month.
I was gonna say next up is our last one for the month. So pre thank you for chugging along and doing this again. And I look back and you didn't do you haven't done this 3 times. This is your second.
All right. Well, we'll see if third time's a charm.
Hey, third time will be the charm. All right, it's looking dark as hell.
I know.
And we gotta get up there.
I know we gotta help prep some Thanksgiving treats.
I don't even know when this is gonna come out, so I'm not even gonna say anything. But it's Thanksgiving-ish.
Yeah, it was either Happy Thanksgiving or I hope you had a really nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Pre or post Thanksgiving. Hope you had a good one. All right.